Good day everyone, a Fistful of Goats here. So today I want to show you the semi-anti-meta deck I took to locals today, Fiendsmith Primite. Now Fiendsmith has fallen a lot of the meta thanks to the banning of Moon, you can't be splashed in every deck. However, I think with Tail and Mitsurugi being two of the best decks, this version of the deck that runs the Primite cards to get your Light Fiend to guarantee your summon is pretty decent. This is because Mitsurugi is making a lot of people main deck Droll and Lock Bird these days, which this deck plays decently around depending on your hand. And against Tail, which is a fairly low ceiling deck that looks to win by grinding resources, this deck can not only match it in the grindiness, but it can play more ways to disrupt the setup of their board, meaning they may not have as much ways of keeping themselves in the game long term as we do. So I learned the hard way, though this deck does suck against K9 because K9 is designed to work against decks that pull out from the hand and graveyard, so yeah, I kind of got steamrolled in that game. But I managed to beat Memento and Tournament. Yeah, funny enough, I put the side to go against Tail and Mitsurugi, but I didn't get a chance to play against either of them. However, so basically what this deck's trying to do is it's trying to set up the usual Fiendsmith board of either a Caesar or a Desiree with two equips under it, play with its hand traps, and then recycle its engines with the Primite and Fiendsmith recursion effects. Again, I don't think today was a good showcase of how good it is because I didn't go against the decks I was designing it to go against. And I did go 2-2, however I think in my first round I was kind of still getting used to how to play it, so it didn't go as well as I wanted it to. So I'm going to show you how I played it today, and I can see how it develops in the future. So for our Primite targets, one Deputy and one Summon Skull. I had to borrow one from locals. The one I ordered isn't here yet. So Deputy is obviously our main target with the Primite cards, as it's a light theme, which can get you through the Fiendsmith engine. Now, one thing about this deck is you ideally do not want to use Primite Lowly Low to get this out because it locks you out of your effects, so you actually can't go through your Fiendsmith engine. However, if you need to, you can still just play essentially Drill Beam and Hand Trap Control with this. But ideally, when you do the draw Deputy, you'll get it off of Primite Raw, and then you can just go through your full combo. And if you get with Raw, you can also still summon Lacrima to make your graveyard even stronger by setting the trap card or another engraver for follow-up. Now, Summon Skull is here because one, it's a level 6 Fiend, which makes getting into Caesar much easier. However, more importantly, it also turns Primite Raw into a really good piece of removal, which against Yummy is pretty good because Yummy really struggles to go against a lot of removal. So between Primite Raw, the Fiendsmith board wipe, and Drill Beam, which you can reset every turn, along with Desiree's 2 or 3 negates, and some hand traps, there's a pretty decent matchup. Then we have 3 copies of the Dragon. Now, this deck has 6 normal summons between this and Lacrima, and I'll be honest, usually Lacrima is the better normal summon because it can eat more hand traps. However, if you do normal summon this card, you can get any piece of the Primite engine you're missing, so usually Lordly Load, but occasionally Drill Beam. And the best part is it doesn't add to your hand, it sets it from the deck, meaning it doesn't set off the Droll and Lock Bird. It will fall to Ash, but if this gets Ash, it's not the worst thing in the world, as you'd rather this get Ash than your Requiem. In addition to this card can also send itself to the graveyard to Foolish a normal monster, meaning we can summon this. If it gets stopped from searching, we can send a Summon Skull off of it, and then to our field, which lets us both play Primite Raw to get another way of getting our Light Fiends on the field, or it just gives us an empty board, which means we can draw a bunch of hand traps, hopefully, off of Mochami Fualos. A very risky play, no doubt, but with a lot of decks playing a lot lower to the ceiling these days, a few hand traps can make you so you aren't hit with lethal and you can crack back on the next turn. Of course, for the spells, 3 Load, 1 Raw, and 1 Drill Beam. You could play 2 Drill Beam if you want to go more heavy control routes, but opening one of this with a Fiendsmith's only is bad enough. I don't want to think about how I've opened 2 of them. So Lord is the best card out of this, obviously, because it lets us add a Primite on activation, and it lets us summon normals from the hand deck or graveyard. So essentially, the ideal play is you get either Deputy or one of your Fiendsmith normal summons. Go through your Fiendsmith line, use this to get Deputy on the field, or summon Skull, and then set Drill Beam for an extra piece of disruption. In the worst case scenario, you can just use this to get Deputy, make Requiem, then your opponent's turn you get out either Engraver as a big defender or Lacrima set up your graveyard, depending on how good your hand trap disruption is. What makes this really good though is how great it is in the grind. This turning someone's Skull into a piece of removal by banishing itself to destroy anything with lesser attack points. This can reset itself every turn if you've got a Primite or normal monster on the field. And of course the dragon can add itself back to your hand if you've got a normal monster on the field during standby phase. So this entire engine is completely recyclable. And now the best normal summon in the deck, and the other one is of course Lacrima. Yes, I am playing the 3 copies because one, it is the best normal summon in the deck, and 2, we have the space for it, so why not maximize the chance of seeing it. So this card on summon dumps a Fiendsmith card, and it can be reshuffled from the graveyard back into your deck to revive a Fiendsmith link. So this can set up a Engraver in the graveyard to do a Fiendsmith combo if you already have Engraver, or a way to get to it, you can use this to dump the trap card and get another piece of disruption. In addition to this, you can just summon her back every single turn by getting back a Requiem from the graveyard and then getting an additional dump, or you can use her to recycle Fiendsmith Agamonde, so if Desiree gets removed, you can just put it back on the field with slightly less attack points, but still a very big monster. In addition to this, I didn't run it today, but you could run a rank 4 engine with both this and the dragon, with things like Baguska, which I think I may do in the future, because sometimes I would benefited from having a bigger grind and just holding the game hostage for 2 turns while I filled up my hand again. Of course, we have the one Lurry. This is simple, you get this off of the Fiendsmith Tract, or if it's in your hand, you discard it off of Tract anyway. Summon stuff out to the field, and then full Fiendsmith combo. It's also good if you use this, and if this gets into Requiem and it gets stopped, you've still got this to do some forms of plays as you'll usually have an Engraver in your graveyard. So you can just bring back the Engraver with this, link of 2 into the link 2, and you've got enough Fiends to make Desiree that way. Speaking of which, triple Engraver, and backing that up, we have the 2 Tract. Now, I would definitely play 3 Tract if I play this deck again, because this card is definitely better to see by itself rather than getting out of this. Because if you discard this to search Tract, it is one way that Droll can hurt the deck, whereas if you just activate this, by the time Droll will be relevant, it doesn't even matter anymore. Oh, you Drolled me after I added the Lurry. Okay, discard Lurry, summon Requiem, full Fiendsmith combo through your Droll. In addition to this, with the releasing of Lacrima, this card's fusion effect is sometimes relevant. I'll be honest, in this more pure build, the Lacrima wasn't that big a deal. Because that card works best when you have another engine to put on the body on the board to link off the link 2 after you've made Desiree. I had to use it once when I needed to put a bit more damage out, but otherwise didn't really come up that much. And of course, finishing off this Fiendsmith engine is Fiendsmith in Paradise. It's a board wipe if you activate it on the field with a Desiree up, and more than likely it'll be in the graveyard. You can use it you can bash it, send a Fiendsmith Desiree, and get additional pop. So between this, Raw, your hand traps, etc., decks with low ceilings find it very hard to get through this deck. The rest of this deck is mostly just hand traps. Now one thing I want to discuss some mistakes I made here. I didn't have my any Bestials, which you should be playing in this deck because they give you more level 6s to work to make Caesar. And I also didn't run the Trinity of talents, Cross Out, and Caught by the Grave, along with the Thrust Dungeon, which I kind of wish I did because sometimes I drew too many double hand traps. So consider that something you should change in this deck if you want to try playing it this format. But let me show you what hand traps I did play. Triple Ash, obvious. This card stops searches. It stops cards being summoned to the field from the deck, and it prevents foolishing. So this covers quite a lot of bases. Like it stops things like Rahu or Branded Fusion if it's in that version of the deck. It stops what's it called? The Mitsurugi card from adding one to your hand. And it also, funny enough, stops the Draco Tail traps because they have the effect to draw a card. So yes, this does stop it, which is kind of funny. And then we have the 3 Veilers. Honestly, this might be my favourite hand trap right now because it's such a broad range of targets. Like, it's not going to stop any specific kind of effects, just an effect on the field. You can use this, again, this one of my best ones against K9 actually, because you can hit Azuna with this to prevent access to the other rank 5, whose name's escaping me right now, Lupus. This makes getting the K9 XC out, which is really good because that card messes up strategies like this quite a lot. Next, 3 Imperm. Again, kind of like Veiler, you can shut off any effect on the field. If you set it like a trap, you can shut down 1 column, which some players might not remember to forget to play into. But more importantly, as a trap card, it can then make Dominus Purge even better. Dominus Purge, like Ash, lets us stop a surge from the deck. And if we have a trap on the field, the effect surge will be destroyed. So if your opponent plays a monster that searches something else, you can get a 2-for-1 by turning off their search and then removing the body from the board. Now keep in mind this will lock you out of fires, and along with darks and, let me check this, and waters, so you need to remember to sequence this properly. Always Ash before you purge, for example. Then we have 3 Drolls. I did main deck these, because again, Mitsurugi is very popular in my meta right now, and this shuts down pretty much every ritual deck if it's being played pure. It also greatly limits what the Mitsurugi deck can do, as you pretty much cut off half of their engine. Then we have the 3 Fualos. This card is nuts. I went against a Memento deck, I dropped 2 of these, drew a bunch of cards off of it. Somehow still lost though, I don't know how, but it did give me a lot more to work with. And what this card also does, if you plays into it somewhat, it gives you a chance to see a greater variety of hand traps. There's playing so many 3-ofs. In addition to this, it's also level 4. So if you want to expand this deck and play, say, a Baguska, for example, this can be half of that Baguska if you had a way to get another 4 on the board, like, say, Lacrima through Requiem. And finally, we have the 2 Ofs, 2 Ghost Bell, and 2 Nibiru. I didn't play 3 Nibiru because, like I said, my meta is very Draco Tail heavy, so this doesn't come up too often. But after playing against the Vanquish Soul decks with the K9 engine, as well as Memento, which can put a lot of bodies on the board, I am generally considering moving this up to 3 or playing the 3rd in the side deck. Ghost Bell, I have the 3rd sided. This is obviously great for the Yummy matchup. And it's pretty decent into Draco Tail, as you can use it to stop the Draco Tail fusions from returning to the field once you destroy them, which between that and the Drill Beam banishing them can make Draco Tail coming back quite a challenge. So yeah, that's the main deck, 41 cards. Like I said, I do wish I played the 3 Bastiles in this deck to give me more level 6s, but I didn't have them, or at least I didn't know where they were at the moment. So that's one change I'd make in the future. I'd maybe play a 3rd Nibiru, and other than that, I'm quite happy with the main deck. For the extra deck, 2 Requiem, because this is one of our best ways of grinding in this deck. So you want to play 2 in case one gets stopped. You use this to go into your full Fiendsmith combo with the Dippity, Lacrima, etc. And it can be used to be equipped to your not Desiree, what's he called? Engraver. Sorry, I'm blanking on names a bit here. To pop monsters and make the princess to go into Caesar. And backing that up, we have 2 Desiree, 1 Lacrima, 1 Agamonde, and 1 Sequence. So the Desiree is obviously the heart and soul of this deck. He with these 2 equipped to him, he's 5 negates at once. He can get up to 1500 attack points, and when he sits at the graveyard, he can drag a monster with him. And we play 2. Obviously, we want 1 on the field and 1 in the extra deck to send off of Paradise. We can recycle these things with things like Engraver, so that's not a big deal. This card, this is the first time I've got to play with this card because it got banned before I got into Fiendsmith. And I'm going to be honest with you, in this pure build, I wasn't too impressed. Basically, it didn't change your board that much. So you make this off of Sequence, and then you bring back Desiree. Not Desiree, so you bring back Engraver. It gives you Caesar access. and it can help you. It can lead to a few other things with this on the board, but it's not really that impressive without Beatrice and without a secondary deck to play it with. Like with things like when this was good in the Snake Eye deck, it's because Snake Eye put up so many bodies that having this card still in your field was a plus. The burn did come up in one game. It gave me enough damage to win quicker. Now this card is not bad, but I don't think it didn't come up as much as I thought it would. Now this card is the MVP of the deck because when it's summoned, you can bring back Desiree from your graveyard and equip it to it. So the idea, of course, is you make this, make Desiree, lick them both off, make this, bring Desiree back and equip both to make a 6-arrow 50 under attack Desiree that's hard to beat over and has massive negates. But if you have this up and you have Lacrima, then you now can play through a Nibiru, because if they nib you on your opponent's turn, you Lacrima, bring this back, get the Desiree back with 3 arrows under it. So again, really helps in the grind game. Necroquip and Caesar, this is straightforward. You make this with a engraver with a Requiem under it, and then you can bring back the engraver and make Caesar, which negates 2 summons, effects that summon, which can be really good in the Yummy matchup, and it's got a pretty big body. However, this card by itself draws you a card when a card's discarded, so it basically turns your hand traps. It bolts a draw 1 to the first hand trap you play in your opponent's turn. Not ideal to end just on this, but if you open this, if you get to this with 3 or 4 hand traps in your hand, it's not the worst in the grind. Of course, playing this because there's some times when things don't go your way. You can just slap this on a body. It'll shut down the biggest monster your opponent has, and it gives you a way to remove their biggest threat. I didn't use this once today, but there's some that definitely could come up, and I would definitely keep it in. For generic links, Abow, SP, IP. Abow never came up. I never got enough material to make it. I don't know if I'll keep it in this deck or not, but it does give us a decent hedge in the grind game. SP was, I got it out like 3 times today, and every time it helped me win the game. This is something else you can spend a used sequence body on if you don't want to go into Agamemnon. And of course, IP, it lets you go into this during your opponent's turn to make it into a better form of disruption. I'll be honest with you though, these two didn't put as much work as I wanted. If I'm gonna put the Baguska in, this might be what I cut for the Baguska. And finally, 2 Chaos Angels, because there's still a decent amount of Ryziel around, and this is really, if you make it in the dark, like say Summon Skull and Lacrima, is borderline impossible for Ryziel to deal with outside of using generic extract cards, because Detonator can't pop up or beat over it in battle. None of the monsters are big enough. This card is really hard to out for that deck. Honestly, I'd probably just play one in the future to make the deck, to get more variety to the extra deck, but it came up twice today, and both games it did really well in. And finally, this side deck is created my meta, so don't take this as an end-all be-all for a more competitive, higher level event. So we're playing 2 extra Ghost Ogres and 1 extra Ghost Spell in the side. These are, again, this is mostly for Yummy because this can pop the field spells, this can shut down their graveyard effects. I chose to put them here because against some decks these don't do that much. Forbidden Droplet. This can help us push through lethal by having the one attack points and turning off their effects with the Desiree up. It's also a good going first disruption. And with the number of hand traps and this deck usually ends up with 4 cards in its hand at the end of the first turn. So if a hand trap you draw isn't good in the matchup, like say you drew Droll and Lock Bird against Draco Tail, for example, you just pitch it off of this to get additional disruption anyway. Also, one thing you can do with this card is you can discard an imperm you're not using, like if you draw 2 of them, or if it's not that great in the matchup, and that will then have a trap in your graveyard for Dominus Impulse. Dominus Purge, not Impulse, sorry. 3 evenly matched for going second, along with Lightning Storm and Harpies. This is mostly for the back row heavy decks, like there's still Dynamorphia player at locals, there's some Labyrinth players, etc. And finally, going first, Fiendsmith's old pal, Cashier Fenrir. Again, decent in the Yumi matchup, but this can take out 2 of their bodies. It's also a big beater, and it's a good card to put in the field before you start your combos, as it means you aren't just relying on one designated hand traps to win the game. So that was my Fiendsmith Primite deck. And again, I don't think it's perfect by any means. I don't think it's like a top tier deck anymore, but I think it can do okay against decks I'm worried about. Like I said, like Dracotail, Mitsurugi, etc. I'll bring this back to locals next week to see if I can improve with it. Thank you all for watching this video, and my next Go Format guide will be out on Thursday on Fiends. So look forward to that, and I'll see you all soon.